Hi, my name is Nkondlo. I come from a rural location type of area in Durban called Efolweni, close to Mlazi. Grew up, was a good kid in the beginning, but started smoking tobacco at a very early age of 12 years old. Later on, progressed to harder drugs. Um, drugs came later because tobacco was very addictive, and through my life, I also became a drug dealer. And in my drug dealing, I used tobacco as the substance or the drug to introduce harder drugs in my operations, because I had multiple, and one of those operations was mainly dealing with schools, and I would groom these young children by using dagga, getting them desensitized to dagga and the smell of dagga, introduce them, they try it out. When once they experiment, they get hooked instantly. From there on, I would put in, let's say if I want to introduce wunga, low grade heroin into the dagga, they start smoking. Once they hooked, now they become customers. And some of them who come from the poorer backgrounds rather than the others, I would use them as runners. And runners are those boys whom you use to sell and deal for you in the schools. Sometimes I'll even go myself physically when if they give me a call, if they send someone to tell me that they have such a high demand, when maybe there's occasions at school, I myself would stand outside the fence and sell to them inside. Dagga, cigarettes, and dagga was always the highest selling drug we had, because older people use it, younger people, everyone uses it. And from there, being a drug dealer also led me into gangsterism. Gangsterism itself, dagga is very plays a big role in gangsterism. Gangsters come together. The first thing they do, they smoke dagga. While they doing the things, they smoke dagga, and it's sort of a sign of being a gangster where you always have to have dagga on you and use dagga. And dagga not only does that, but dagga is also a sexual substance, a drug, if I could use. It's an aphrodisiac. And one, like myself, would use it to lure girls into bed. Once a girl is highly intoxicated with this dagga, their hormones become very easy to manipulate, if you could say. And they themselves are more sexually inclined. And then one would easily get them into bed. And it did lead me to having multiple relationships, sometimes, most of the time, unprotected sex with these young girls. Some were so young, 14, 15, and using dagga, I would sleep with them. Eventually onwards, they will also get led into harder drugs and substances, more so ecstasy. And ecstasy is one of those drugs that dagga also plays a pivotal role in the use. So dagga actually destroyed my life. I became a gangster. Uh, I stole a lot. I stole like crazy. Lied to everyone in my family. Lied to all my neighbors. Deceived people and stole from them, and got money from them for dagga itself before even the hard drugs. That's why I started dealing, because it destroyed my relationships with everyone. Not only that, but dagga, I remember earlier when I was just smoking dagga before I even started any of these hard drugs. I became very paranoid. So paranoid, I couldn't be in the same place or vicinity with another person. I had to be alone. And in my mind, I thought I smelled like a skunk. I smelled so terribly. And in order to deal with this, I have to get myself so high my brain wouldn't function. Then I could feel relaxed. So from there, dagga, I had to use more and more, more and more, up until didn't do anything for me, and I myself got introduced into harder substances, trying to do the same thing, ease myself and trying to relax. But dagga, essentially what it did, it led me from being from bad to the worst point of my life. Destroyed my life, my relationships, even my relationship with my child, everything. I lost everything I had through dagga, and I strongly believe if I never smoked dagga in my life, I would have never come to that point where I lost everything from a drug dealer and lost everything um, even sold everything to get my dagga and other drugs. Because throughout my drug career, if I could say that, I never stopped smoking dagga, even though it became less effective, but it still had the hook. It was always something I needed to do. To the young person who's even considering taking dagga and putting that, that, that poison into their system, do not. It looks good when you start. It sounds good. They portray it on music videos and on TV as something that's healthy, that's a herb. It's not. It will get you addicted. It will get you from someone who loves themselves, who's tidy, who's clean, to someone who's filthy. It will take you from someone who's trusted by your parents, your family, and your community to someone who's despised, and to destroy your life. You like it or not, it is going to lead up to other drugs. That's the thing. Everyone who smokes drugs starts it with dagga. And everyone who smokes dagga, they will at one point say, if they're honest, they will tell you, I wish I could stop, but it's impossible. It hooks you. And it's dangerous for the lungs, for your sight, for your brain. I suffer from sometimes short-term memory loss and uh, wild mood swings. Either become very aggressive, very sad, very happy, very every emotion is to an extreme, and you don't want to live that type of life. It takes so much to deal in each and every situation because of dagga, and that's dagga, and it makes you paranoid. I would say, from my understanding, people I've come across, 70 to 80% of people who smoke dagga become paranoid. For me, it was my extreme. I don't know theirs, but everyone becomes paranoid in a way. If you don't want to live a life where you're paranoid and you're young, you want to be successful, you want to make something of yourself, stay away from drugs. And the first thing you should run away from is dagga, because it's a plant. It seems like it's not dangerous. It's the most dangerous thing because it seems harmless. And to those who want to legalize dagga in South Africa, what I can say to you is, look at this young person whose life was destroyed, whose potential was wasted, and tell me if you would like your child to live that life. You might say dagga is good or whatever, whatever. It's because you come from a good background. Your education was set before you even started schooling, maybe. Because I would assume it's not a guy from the location who wants it legalized. I would assume it's someone who comes from a high class society who can see how much money it would give them. But the guy in the streets will say yes, of course, because they smoke it, because they're hooked. But actually, they do not want it for their child. Dagga is dangerous. If you want to legalize dagga, why not just legalize murdering people at the same time? It's the same thing. Destroys one's life, brain, potential is destroyed. Ask anyone who smoked dagga, who seriously has smoked dagga, and go to the grassroots level. Not only the high class people who have their cars, their money, and who can afford things. Go to the parents who have sons who are addicted to dagga, who now cannot cope with their own sons, who lose their minds at times. I almost was insane because of it too, I believe. And there's so many cases of guys who have lost their mind because of dagga, purely dagga. Go to those mothers whose children are serious drug addicts, who are addicted to heroin, who will tell you he started with dagga. Then ask them if they want it legalized. That's my view. I say no. I strongly stand against legalization of dagga. It's destroying the nation fast.